Hello and welcome to the third and the Dawn Football Show. I am Joe. With me is Cecil, as always, here to talk some NFL football. We had a rather boring slate of games this week, but we're still going to talk about them, and then we're going to preview this week, which should get a little bit better. Cecil, how are you doing?
I'm great. I survived our Titanic clash this week in fantasy football. Um, and by that, I mean probably one of our worst hit performances combined ever.
Yep.
A lot of people on bye and a lot of people just doing horrible. Like Curtis Samuel's got me point 0.2 points. I think DJ Moore got you like 1.8 or something. So just riveting stuff. Derrick Henry was on bye. I had Devontae Adams and I'm on Ross St. Brown on bye. So just spectacular footing out there. But hey, I pulled it out. Win's a win. But it's good to be back here and ready to talk about the NFL season, week 6, and start about week 7.
Absolutely, Cecil. I'm disappointed I lost, but second highest point scored in the league. I think things will even out by the end of the year, but we will see. All right, let's start it off with our recap of Week 6. Thursday night, Cecil, I kind of like when we get to this point of the season because we have teams that we know we don't need to talk about, games we don't need to talk about a lot because, Thursday night sucked. Both teams sucked. The Commanders beat the Bears 12-7. Justin Fields doesn't have much help. He's not playing well either, but he doesn't have much help. So the Bears stink. The Commanders get a win, but they stink. That's all I got to say about it. It was a bad, bad game.
Yeah, the Bears blew at the very end, giving up a turnover. So, yeah, it was an absolute mess. It was an atrocious game. I mean, literally, like there was barely any offense. I think Al Michaels was ready to just retire at halftime, just ready to get out of the Amazon booth and just go, you know what? I don't care how much money you're paying me, Bezos. I can't watch this shit anymore, and was about to leave. I mean, the thing was, we went 6 quarters without a touchdown on Thursday Night Football. That is just boring.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to see just field goals. I mean, touchdowns. We want the celebrations. You can't celebrate after field goals. Nobody cares. Kickers aren't people. Moving on.
Besides one kicker we're going to get to later. He's a person after what he did last night, but we'll get to that in a little bit here. 1 p.m. games on Sunday. Let's start it off with our Cincinnati Bengals. Cease. They win 30-26. As usual, first half play calling doesn't really go their way. They're having trouble stopping the run with DJ Reader out. Now Logan Wilson got injured. He might miss some time here. And they let Andy Dalton keep it close, give us a scare that Andy Dalton would be, 3-0 in revenge games against the Bengals, but they got the job done in the end. Still not seeing everything I need to see from the play calling going forward. I mean, they still could be doing a little bit better with that regard, but it's good to get the win in New Orleans. Very tough place to play. Bengals slowly getting back on the right track. I'm not ready to be all in on them yet as being like the Super Bowl contender that they were last year.
Yeah, I think they're starting to find an identity, which is really important. Injuries are starting to stack up on the defensive side of the ball. DJ Reader's out. They're hoping he should, they put him on IR for 4 weeks, and he's been rehabbing well, so hopefully he's on track. I wouldn't be surprised if they just hold him out till after their bye is after this week, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just wait till after the bye to let him back, make sure he's fully healthy and healed up, especially for the long run for the rest of the season. And then Logan Wilson, that's kind of a big part of their defense. He's not an all-pro linebacker, but he seems to be in the right spot a lot of times. He does, middle linebacker, helps get everybody lined up. So I will definitely be a blow as well, but hopefully his season's not over. I don't think it's supposed to be from what they're getting so far with his shoulder, but time will tell there. But yeah, the Bengals offense is the big thing to talk about in this game ultimately. I mean, the way they ran their offense, there's been a lot of predictable plays, if they're under center, they're going to run. If, they're in the shotgun, they're going to pass. If it's first down, they're going to run. They stopped doing that stuff, which was really big for them. I mean, we're talking they were exclusively out of the shotgun. The only times they were under center was for QB kneel at the end of the game and the QB sneak on a, third and short. So, I mean, that's the identity. That's more important for them because I think that's what's going to help them succeed if they just try to stick to one thing and know how to do it. First, trying to be elaborate, trying to, outwit everybody. I mean, they don't need to be the best play callers. They don't need to have, the best play calls. Honestly, they have the talent on the field right now that they can do a lot with very basic concepts. I mean, if you got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, even Hayden Hurst is coming together. If you got all those guys healthy, I mean, you can beat any coverage. You just got to recognize it. I think Joe Burrow has that time from the shotgun to do so. I think Joe Mixon has a lot more advantage in the run game that way as well to see the blocks out in front of him, and teams can't really key in on the run as much as well. So I think it's just helping the whole offense. And they finally started using Tyler Boyd. They've been using Hayden Hurst a little bit to try to beat these cover twos, but they've been using Tyler Boyd way better and much more over the middle than they have in the last couple games. So that was big. Joe Mixon got going in the running game. Not a lot of carries, but they were effective. I mean, this is a formula for an offense that's going to score points. They scored 30 points, and the Bengals lost the possession to a fumble on a punt return. They had some just bad luck happen. And, they really got off to a slow start, some very long drives by the Saints. We're talking, I think in the third quarter, the Saints went almost a 10-minute drive at one point. The Bengals defense was tired. They were not expecting kind of the trickery they were getting in the run game, and they were really missing DJ Reader in this one. But ultimately, they hung on defense. They were able to make plays at the end of the game. There's some dumb penalties as well that, they need to clean up, especially Trey Hendrickson roughing the passer on a 3rd and 25. But, I mean, other than that, the good news is the offense looks like it's figuring it out. And if the offense can figure it out, this team can go very far. It can be a playoff contender. It can be in a Super Bowl potential talk. Because, the defense has already looked that way. Hopefully, the injuries stop here. But they've got the makings of a good defense. If you have good defense, really good quarterback, and a lot of good weapons on offense, that's a formula for success. We saw it last year, and I think they're really getting in that. They're getting hot, and they're starting to get, better at the right time. I'd rather them start catching on and then get better towards the end of the season versus teams figuring them out later on. So I'm okay with it. Signs of life, which is very important. Like you said, it's very hard to play in the Superdome. It's a very loud environment. It's a very hostile environment, even to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, who went to LSU. A lot of LSU grads on the Bengals, but, they didn't get any different kind of welcome or less savage look than anyone else when they were cheering for the Saints. So glad for the Bengals to get the win, and hopefully, we're looking at the schedule here for a little bit. There's a chance for them to go on a run as long as they execute. They should beat most of the teams they play over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll wait to hear more about Logan Wilson's injury, but good to be 500 after just a weird start to the season. Next game up, we have the Atlanta Falcons beating the 49ers 28-14. This is a shocking result. The Falcons have been scrappy, but to beat a team like the 49ers is kind of crazy. Marcus Mariota, 13 of 14 passing for 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. Every time he completes 13 or fewer passes, they win the game, which means they want to establish the run, all that. If I'm the Falcons, I don't see why not, why you wouldn't take the ball first in every game, try to score first and be scrappy. I know it's kind of like what most teams who run the ball well do, but that's what, they want to have Marcus Mariota be able to use his legs. They want to have him just play efficient football like he did here. Excellent game plan by Arthur Smith and the Falcons. 49ers, tough loss. It's not the end of their season, but they have a lot of things to correct.
Right. This is a big question of, are the Falcons good? Are the 49ers bad? Are they both just average? What does this mean? I think it's just a combination of, there's just probably 3 or 4 really good teams in the NFL right now, and everyone else is kind of at the same level and just trying to figure out what they're doing. It may be not necessarily because they don't have the talent. It may be, look at the Bengals. I don't think they're a bad team, but they haven't figured it out. They're starting to a little bit. Falcons aren't a very good talent team. You look at the roster up and down, there's not, but they're doing the run very well, and Arthur Smith is doing a great job doing that. They're one of the best rushing teams. I think they're number 2 right now in a lot of categories for rushing this year. And they're doing it with a team that really doesn't have much else going for it. So sometimes, it just takes a while to get everything together. The Falcons are scrappy, man. A lot of the bottom teams this year are way better than the teams we've seen in the past that are just flat out bad. I don't think there's really as much of that this year in the NFL. There's no Houston Texans from 2 years ago, because you play the Texans now, it's a dogfight. These teams aren't just walking in there and dominating them. they're playing every minute, and they're in a lot of these games. You look at the Lions. The Lions have had one of the better offenses. They just defense can't get off the field. Um, Still not a team I'm going, yeah, I can't wait to play them. I think they're going to be absolutely, an easy win. The Saints, they're 2-4. I don't want to play them. There's just so many teams right now where you're just like, I don't really want to. Anybody could win any game in the NFL. That's what makes this sport really exciting. And it's going to make it very tough to predict what's going to happen down the stretch run here. It's just really going to come down to who's going to put it all together. And a lot of teams don't every year. Injuries happen. It's just the NFL season as we know it. So, great for the Falcons. They got off to an early start. They dominated from there, and the 49ers couldn't do their power run, and they made Jimmy G have to pass the ball because they were down by so much. And from there, they were screwed. I mean, the 49ers are built for a run-first team. It's one of the things when you commit to that kind of philosophy, you can't get down by a lot. Same thing we talked about with the Titans and Derrick Henry. You can't go down by 2 possessions really in the fourth quarter. If you do, your offense just isn't built that way. Your quarterback and your receivers aren't as good. But in reality, the 49ers have a really good receiving core. So it really just falls directly on Jimmy G. He needs to figure it out quick for this 49ers team to make it deep in the playoffs. Because will they make the playoffs? I think they might make it by default. Or, they're going to be in the picture all year round because they have that defense. But ultimately, they got to take a step forward with that passing game. They're going to have a shot to survive and advance come playoff time.
With you on that, I am interested to see what they do this week. We'll pick that game later, but big game coming up for them as well. And sees the Falcons tied for first in the NFC South because of their struggle. All this NFC South team struggle, so that'd be a fun storyline. The next game up, we have the Patriots beating the Browns 38-15, and Cecil, the Zap attack was back. Bailey Zappi having another good game. He's 2-0. He's setting records for rookies. We mentioned last week that we thought maybe he could be better than Mac Jones. I picked him up in our Dynasty League. I talked about all the records he broke at Western Kentucky. He's playing well. He's playing awesome. They might stick with Mac Jones, or they might stick with Bailey Zappi in the starting lineup for a little bit here. They went 38-15 over the Browns, and honestly, they needed a second half. They needed to kind of pull away, and they did. And this isn't just on Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi had a good game, but that Patriots defense is getting to a point where it's pretty nasty too. I'm more in on the Patriots with Bailey Zappi than I was with Mac Jones, and the stats have proven it so far this year. Doesn't mean it's the end of the time for Mac Jones, but so far, Zappi looks good. And the Browns, we know they're not a good team without Deshaun Watson. They've squeaked out some wins. They're very close to being 1-5 instead of 2-4. So they're kind of one of those teams that started off better than we thought and kind of are going to lose some luster as the season goes on until they get Watson back.
Yeah, Bailey Zappi has looked great. If you would have gone on this game, you look at both these teams, you would have gone, both teams are going to pound the football. They're going to take the air out of the ball, and that's how they're going to win. But Bailey Zappi had over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Hats off to Bill Belichick and that offensive staff of the Patriots to put this all together. Clearly, Josh McDaniels has nothing to do with the Patriots' success on offense, as you can also see in Oakland, but even more so now that, we got Bailey Zappi, who's never been touched by Josh McDaniels and is great. So, he's clearly terrible. If I'm Mark Davis at this point, I'm just looking at the Patriots and just going, this guy's just a figurehead bum that does nothing. I want one of those guys. I just want Bill Belichick at this point because, he keeps showing, sure, Tom Brady is the best of all time, but Bill Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. The way he's able to turn this stuff around, do things no one expects, and execute it at such a great level, it's crazy. A defense is no joke. And a lot of these guys aren't big-name talents anymore. A lot of the guys, they have some old vets who've been there a while that seem to be a little past their prime. But everybody's just is filling their role. And as a defense, a lot of times you can just fill your role. You can stop teams. If you get them to 2-3 yards of play, you get to that third down, drop pass, something just doesn't look right, they're going to punt the ball. So, if you just bend a little, don't break, you come up with some timely turnovers, that's what your defense needs. It doesn't need to have the team literally get 1 yard every play. It just needs to, on the big downs that matters, they need to be able to win those plays. And they win those plays consistently as a team, and they're well-disciplined in that way. So, Patriots look really good right now. I mean, do I dare say the Patriots are very well in the playoff hunt at this point in the AFC? I think I'm going to have to, especially with Bailey Zappi's at the helm. I mean, I look at the last two games against pretty opponents that, they were underdogs in both these games. They came out and they performed, and now we're seeing Bailey Zappi perform as well. So that's huge. He's not just going to be a guy who's going to, hand off the ball. He's going to be a guy who's going to throw it down the field. And, they're going to make some plays. He has that pedigree. He's thrown for a lot of yards in college. Had a great run at Western Kentucky. We were just waiting to see if that was really ever going to catch up to NFL speed, and it seems like it sure has, with not really the best talent group around him either. So hats off to them. The Browns, I mean, you're at a crossroads. I mean, you can't go 2-4 so far. Jacoby Brissett's not played well. The defense has really not played that well either, which is really the most shocking part. We knew they might have some struggles in the air because they just don't have a lot of weapons. Deshaun Watson's not there for most of the season. And then, it was going to be kind of a power run game on offense. But the defense is just not making plays the way they're supposed to. You have Myles Garrett, you have Jaden Clowney. Obviously, Myles Garrett got in that car accident that's probably holding him back a little bit. But, I mean, you got the linebacking core is not good. They're not doing anything. Denzel Ward's great, and some of the secondary makes good plays, but it just seems like there's some element missing to this team. Beside on the defensive side of the ball, again, Deshaun Watson's going to be quarterback. That's not going to fix everything because let's be honest, Deshaun Watson's been on a lot of bad Texans teams that ended up doing nothing as well. So whether what he gets his stats or not. So this Browns team is going to be out of playoff contention here soon. They're going to need to make a statement in the next couple weeks if they're going to have any shot. Because I mean, you're 2-4 at this point. You're this close to being 1-5. I mean, at most you can probably lose 4 more games this entire season. 9-8 with some help, you maybe get lucky and get in the playoffs. Because I don't think 9-8 is necessarily going to get you in this year. There could be a couple teams that are going to be right at 9-8, and you can't go 8-9. That Matt's just not going to play in a very competitive AFC. So they got to figure it out quick. And I mean, they don't have many more games left to spare, and there's still plenty of hard parts of the schedule. It's not like they've been playing all their cup games. And I mean, they've lost the Patriots game they should have won. They were this close to beating the Chargers. There's a lot of games they've been in, they just can't finish. And again, the schedule's not going to get that much easier for them. So they need to win. They need to win quick. And the Patriots are very much in that discussion for a wild card right now.
Yeah, you mentioned the wild card. Look at this AFC East standings. We got Buffalo 5-1, New York Jets. We're going to get to them in a second, but 4-2. Miami Dolphins 3-3 with Tua coming back this week. New England 3-3. That's going to be fun. The AFC and NFC East have both been really good. So
it's the AFC beast, not just the NFC beast.
Both beasts. Let's get to it though, Cease. The Jets dominate the Packers. It was a 3-3 game at halftime. Not much going. A lot of frustration from Aaron Rodgers. Second half gets going. Breece Hall breaks out for the Jets, has a touchdown, and they just kind of keep on rolling on. They win 27-10. Their defense, I think, deserves a lot of credit. That includes Quentin Williams, who had a really good day, and also Ahmad Sauce Gardner, the Cincinnati product, played really well in coverage. The Jets win, and they're 4-2 now. They've won 3 road games, 3-0 away from home. And, after the game, Sauce Gardner points to the Packers and says, after you play in London, you get to pick what team you play, or you get a bye week. They picked to play us rather than have a bye week, and that was insulting. So we came out and played well, and they won. Packers, on the other hand, the same issues they've had all season. The same reason why, Cease, me and you have told everyone don't buy in quite yet. And the same reason that they are currently in the market for a wide receiver. The Aaron Rodgers and the GM have both said that they are going after a wide receiver before the trade deadline. So some changes coming to the Packers, 3-3. Not time to hit the panic button, but definitely some worry there.
Yeah, if they don't get a decent receiver at the trade deadline, I'm pushing the button. I'm panicking because, I mean, how long is Randall? Have we gotten a full injury report on Randall Cobb, who got carted off during the game on Sunday?
He said, I saw he tweeted that he didn't break his ankle like he thought. But no timetable I don't think I've seen.
Yeah, so that's going to be some significant time probably lost. I mean, I'm glad that he didn't break his ankle and is out for the season or something like that. But still, they don't have much depth to begin with. Aaron Rodgers has seemed to put has made zero progress for most of the rookie receivers. Besides Romeo Dobbs has some decent flashes here and there, but there's some miscommunications. And I don't think I can watch many more third downs of Aaron Rodgers just looking downfield, acting like everyone else messed up around him, and that it kind of just always feels like at this point nothing is Aaron Rodgers' fault; it's everyone else's. When he chose to stay with Green Bay at the end of the day, he knew Devontae Adams wasn't coming back. Devontae Adams told him he still decided to stay at the Packers for $40 million. I mean, it's also management's fault for not giving more receivers, but I mean, they have rookie receivers. They drafted Christian Watson in the second round. They signed some guys and signed elite talent, but Aaron Rodgers just straight up is barely working with any of these guys. He just seems to throw it to Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard because he has to, and from there, Romeo Dobbs is his favorite option of the people he hates most. So I just really don't feel any sympathy for him anymore because it seems like it's not a great situation he's put in. But he only seems to make it worse with the attitude he has and kind of the aura he has around him, especially the way when it comes to these receivers. I mean, clearly what he's doing and how he's trying to get those guys to perform is not working. Sometimes, when you're getting paid $40 million a year in a hard cap league, you got to make more with less because you wanted as much money as you could get, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you also need to understand that that's going to create limitations on the roster around you. So also, if there's a lot of reports he's dating a witch. We can't not address that on this show. I'm not saying we're superstitious. We're just a little stitious. I don't know if everybody in the Packers fan base needs to send her flowers or whatever she's into. But, I mean, we got to try something. Let's think out of the box because clear whatever they're doing in the front office for the Packers isn't working. Let's be creative here. But ultimately, the Jets, they've looked, I wouldn't say good, but they've looked like a competitive NFL team, and they've won some games that I didn't expect them to win. So I think a lot of that goes with Salah, their head coach. The rookies, they're playing 4 rookies, and they've all played extremely well so far. So they're all playing a lot of snaps. I mean, Sauce Gardner's looked really good. Johnson's had some good flashes. Quentin Williams really seems to be coming to his own. And you got Garrett Wilson on the other side of the ball, and then of course you have Joe's favorite running back, Breece Hall, that's looking on fire the last 2 weeks. So a lot of contributors, a lot of young guys contributing fast. It's going to come down to, Zach Wilson's still not looking great. He's still almost, 30th to 32nd among starting QBs and a lot of, big passing stats like, yards per attempt, EPA, all that stuff. He's pretty far down the list in. So he's going to need to step up. These Jets are going to be taken seriously. I think the Packers overlooked him. I think they used that as motivation. We'll see if the Jets can keep this going through the year. I'm not as big a believer in them because I feel like they've upset a lot of teams that they weren't expecting to, and they've gotten lucky on a couple of these as well. Like the Cleveland game, a lot of things bounced right for that. So, and the Packers game, I think they just completely were washed from the London game a lot, and they just overlooked them. So, a lot of things with the Jets are going well. They just can't get too into themselves. I think they need to keep performing. I need to see a little bit more before I say that they are a playoff contender. They're on a hot start, and that usually helps a lot because, there's more room for error. But ultimately, this is a young team, and it's a team with a quarterback who really isn't pulling them together, and a lot of things seem to be bouncing right for them. So, great win for them. Let's see if they can keep it up. Packers need to find somebody at receiver that can play now, or this season's going to be lost by the bye week.
Yeah, that's an understatement. We'll see what they do before the deadline. Check out thegamehouse.com. We'll have articles about what targets they are trying to acquire, as that is one of the biggest points of contention right now is who they're going to get in the trade deadline. Also, Cecil, just a little bit of to clean up what I said earlier. Randall Cobb is out 2 to 4 weeks with the ankle sprain, no ankle break, so he is still out, which will hurt the depth, but we'll see what they do in the meantime. All right, the Colts beat the Jaguars 34-27. Back and forth game here in the second half, and the Jaguars had tied it up 27-27. Matt Ryan finds Alec Pierce in the end zone to win the game in the final minute. Alec Pierce has come on strong. Michael Pittman's come on strong for the Colts. They get the win. They go to 3-2-1. The Jaguars go down to 2-4. The thing that I thought was weird from this game, Cease, is yes, the Colts were down a couple of running backs, but Matt Ryan throws 58 pass attempts, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns. I just don't think this team is in tune with what their identity was last year at this point. And maybe getting Jonathan Taylor back this week will help, but they need to figure that out if they're going to be serious contenders. And, the Jaguars, they had this hot start, but they faded for sure.
Yeah, where the hell did this come from with the Colts? Honestly, I mean, if you're going to tell me Matt Ryan was going to throw the ball 60 times in this game, I'd be like, what? Were they got blown out by Jacksonville again? That's what I would have thought. The team stepped up. Michael Pittman had a lot of good plays, and Alec Pierce has been a great addition as a second round pick for them. He's doing very well. He's really stepped up, especially the last two games, and then of course, getting the game winner in this one. So you're right. I mean, it's a team with a kind of confusing identity. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor isn't there, so they're trying to make up for that in a lot of ways. But this team, it's not been really gelling. Like, you look at some of the stat lines in some of these games, people are getting their stats. Like, Jonathan Taylor's getting his, 100 yards, touchdown like clockwork. But they're not winning games. Like, they're not really dominating. And, I'm glad they finally got back on track against the Jacksonville Jaguars in this one because, I mean, they look pretty much dead on arrival through the first 4 weeks of the season. They're up and down. They beat the Chiefs. Now they beat the Jaguars. Like you said, they're 3-2-1. They're still very well alive in the AFC South because you never know what's going to go on there. The Jaguars are really fading. I don't know really how to explain what's going on there. It looks like Trevor Lawrence is a lot more out of sync. I think teams are maybe taking them more seriously than they were earlier. And the defense is just not stepping up at all either. They're struggling in this game especially. And, I mean, they're a young team that needs to learn quick. And, I mean, their chances of the AFC South are evaporating pretty fast at this point. They need to right the ship, and Trevor Lawrence needs to start finding, more connections with the receivers. And they're a team that seems to be struggling as well with identity because it looks like Travis Etienne and James Robinson are doing a lot on the ground, and the passing game's taking a back seat, which can work. But like you said, you got to dedicate yourself to an identity as a team. Bengals, the same thing. They went from the shotgun pretty much exclusively on offense this week. If you can commit to your identity as a team, it can make game planning, game flow, situational, what you're going to do so much better. And players get a lot more comfortable because they know their identity. They know what they're doing. They know what to expect. You start throwing in different, things, and you start just deciding to be a pass-first team, that can throw a lot of guys off. They don't know what the expectation is that, they're not as comfortable. And sometimes that familiarity can make all the difference. Week to week, especially in a long season with a lot of guys, especially if you're somebody who hasn't been on the team for a couple of years and is new for this year. So figure out your identity if you're in Indianapolis. If we can get Jonathan Taylor back over there and Matt Ryan can throw 30 to 40 passes a game and put up close to 300 yards, this team will be a heavy favorite in the AFC South and could make some noise in the playoffs, but they just got to find some consistency before they do that. And Jaguars, I think it's time to hit the panic button. You're 2-4. It seems like you've really regressed from getting off to a hot start, and I mean they need to find some answers and get some rhythm on offense.
Yeah, definitely on that, Cease. And I still I'm in on Trevor Lawrence too. He was 20 of 22 passing, and he had a yards per completion average higher than Matt Ryan in this one too. So it's a tough game. They're a young team. They'll figure things out. Colts, on the other hand, hopefully Jonathan Taylor helps them out, and they can be a team that finishes strong like they have the last couple of years. All right, the Vikings beat the Dolphins 24-16. I don't have too much to add on this one, Cease. We can get into the nitty gritty if you want, but Skylar Thompson starts the game for the Dolphins. He goes out with an injury. Teddy Bridgewater comes in. He was active, but he was obviously getting over his concussion protocol this week, so they didn't start him. He comes in and throws for 329 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the Vikings are a much more talented team than the Dolphins. When the Dolphins are down to their third quarterback, then go back to their second quarterback. It's just a weird game. They made it close. Dolphins deserve credit for that, but the Vikings 5-1 now. They're just a better team.
Yeah, it's really that. You got your third string quarterback starting. and then your backup quarterback who you're holding out because you're afraid of him getting hurt again goes back in. It's just a wonky game. Tyreek Hill got a lot of catches, a lot of yards. It didn't really matter. The Vikings team, I'm not really. I mean, I think they're good. I think they're definitely in the driver's seat to win at the NFC North. But I've seen some sites, rank them as the fourth best team in the league. And obviously, I get they only have one loss, but I don't think they're that good. I mean, I think they're good, but I think they're limited by Kirk Cousins. I think a lot of their offense is just it's Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. That's really what it is, and I just don't think the defense is really anything that special at the end of the day. So I know a lot of work for them. They're going to make the playoffs just by default, it looks like. But some people are ranking them in the top 5 teams in the NFL, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there's a lot of teams that if you stack them up right now, I would, there's probably 5 or 6 teams I pick over the Vikings hands down to beat them. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think people have been starting to move them up rankings and everything, and that's all well and good. But I still think they need to prove it on a more consistent basis, or I guess a longer basis would be a better way to put that. But yeah, I mean, this game they just got the fortune of playing a team who had those concussion issues. But Tua's back now. Dolphins can get back on track as well. All right, Brian Daboll and the Giants, they keep on rolling here. They're 5-1. They beat the Ravens 24-20. They come back in the end, play really well in the fourth quarter. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson has to play better in the fourth quarter, and the Ravens as a team need to keep their foot on the gas the whole team. The foot on the gas the whole game. That has been the team's biggest problem so far this season. I will say they are getting healthier. Maybe that helps. They're getting some pass rushers back. Rashad Bateman will be back in a couple weeks. All that type of stuff. But they need to, whether who's healthy or not, keep their foot on the gas to win some of these games. But I'm still very impressed with Giants and Brian Daboll.
Oh yeah, the Giants are definitely the surprise. Brian Dable should win Coach of the Year. Right now, the season stopped, and there's nothing to make me believe that that's going to change down the stretch. Ravens, like you said, Lamar Jackson, they just got to be more clutch. They got to close out games. They have flashes where they're really good, drives where they look amazing. The defense can look really good. And there's other times where they just straight up let teams back in games for no reason. There's just there's just so much talent. There's so much opportunity on a team with a great quarterback. A lot of great defensive players. Individually, a lot of great defensive players. Together, they just haven't looked that great. You got a running game that seems unstoppable at times, and you just can't close out games. It's just that simple. I mean, Kenyon Drake, who's off the street, somebody who's been on and off multiple NFL teams, is breaking multiple rushes for 20 yards a carry. I mean, I don't know how much more you can do as a team. And I mean, the defense, you got to step up on drives, and Lamar's got to be smart with the football. So, I mean, messy game for the Ravens at the end of the day. They really need to finish this stuff out. And the Giants, I mean, they're going to make the playoffs at this rate. I mean, they have the possibility to win the NFC East. That I have no idea. I am a firm did not believe that this turnaround would happen this year. I picked them to win 5 games, so I will admit that I was completely and utterly wrong. And I mean that a lot of that has to go directly to Brian Daboll, and that's really the difference because I knew the roster going in. I had zero confidence in it. Even with Saquon coming back, even with Saquon, people key in on him. And Daniel Jones and that group of no-name receivers are going to struggle, and the defense just doesn't have enough good pieces. So I was wrong. It really shows you how much a good coach and good game planning and play calling can really make the difference in a team. A lot of teams do not have it, and Brian Daboll has maximized this roster beyond a point I thought was humanly possible. And honestly upsets me that how bad the coaching in the NFL is overall, considering what he can do with so little and everyone else with so much can barely put together an offense.
Absolutely. He's been down to like David Sills as like one of his top receivers. And David Sills, cool story. He was a quarterback in 7th grade who got a scholarship to go to USC and made headlines and then moved to wide receiver. Played at West Virginia, played very fine, but all the receivers are down, and he's like your number 1 or 2 receiver. That is impressive if you're able to win games with that going on. With Daniel Jones, who we didn't know if he was going to be good or not. But I do think they killed the draft. They got something going here, and we'll see if they can keep it up. As you said, I mean, he's definitely got the coaching ability to keep this up and make the playoffs. All right, the Steelers beat the Bucks in an upset. We weren't really expecting this one, but they win 20-18. The same issues with the Buccaneers. We've mentioned to people about the same issues as the Packers that we mentioned with the Buccaneers are present. We just don't think they're the greatest team this year. Maybe they'll turn it on. Tom Brady always has the potential, but they're not running the ball well. It's not setting up the pass. The Steelers have Kenny Pickett start the game. He plays okay. He gets knocked out. Mitch Trubisky comes in and plays really well. Just a lot of, I don't know. It's just ugly game. Wasn't very fun to watch, maybe. But the Steelers win. The Bucks, they got to figure some things out, and Tom Brady's got to focus and get his players to focus too. Get the offensive line to focus. He was seen yelling at the line of scrimmage the past couple of weeks. There's a whole mess of problems for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, it's turning into a kind of nuclear situation down in Tampa Bay. Again, they could probably make the playoffs sleepwalking just because of how bad the NFC South has turned out to be. And just the NFC overall isn't really that great. But yeah, I mean, it's time to start hitting the panic button over there. I mean, you can give Tom Brady all the credit. You know, you can always go, he's going to figure it out. But I mean, this team is not figuring it out. Like they're losing games, they're dropping them. Tom Brady just looks like he's going to explode at all times. Yeah, it's just, eventually that kind of culture is going to bleed in, and it's gonna just start getting worse. He's competitive, and they're trying to make things better. But sometimes, if you just keep hammering away and doing the same thing over and over, and you keep losing games, you should probably win with the talent on your roster. There's a systemic level problem. I don't know where it is. I don't know what exactly is causing it. One of the big changes this year, Bruce Arians got basically ousted as head coach for pretty much no reason. He's been one of the better offensive coaches in the NFL over the last couple decades, so that was questionable. Todd Bowles is a great defensive coordinator, but is he a great head coach? I mean, I don't really know. It doesn't look like it so far. He didn't really get that great of a stint with the Jets to really tell either, but it seems like there's a lot of power struggles. Who's in charge in Tampa Bay? It's Super Bowl or bust. Tom Brady and his whole marriage thing is now coming together. A lot of people are asking, it seems like there's just so much more pressure on the season now than there should have been, really. It just seems like they're not performing well. A lot of people are saying, that Tom Brady's marriage is falling apart because he can't quit football, and then they're not winning anyway. So, it's snowballing. It's snowballing in Tampa Bay of all places, and it looks like maybe hell is freezing over. So, a lot of questions if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Steelers, I mean, they get a win against, they're a team that's struggling right now. And, I mean, Mike Tomlin is a really good coach as well. And, he's going to get the W. He's going to go for the W no matter what. Some of the background, apparently the reason Mr. Trubisky got benched wasn't performance-based. It was because he got in a shouting match with Deontay Johnson in the locker room during halftime. During the game, he got benched. So what does that mean? I don't know. I mean, he played really well, in relief there at the end of that game. So with Kenny Pickett, concussed, I think the Steelers should be conservative, be smart about it. Don't just throw Kenny Pickett back in there. If Mr. Trubisky is going to keep playing like that, you got a game or two to figure that out. Go ahead and figure it out. I don't think it's going to sustain, but I mean, again, the Steelers aren't going anywhere this season. They're 2-4. They're not going to make this miraculous run. It's time to figure out what they've got, and also, save your young rookie quarterback you just drafted a first-round pick, and used him on. Conserve, keep him healthy. We just saw what happened with Tua. Concussions are a big thing. You got to hold him out for an extra game. It's not going to kill your entire season, because at the end of the day, the season isn't ultimately about making the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl. It's just not a feasible plan right now. Build for the future. Good win for them. Mike Tomlin's still a great coach. Who's coaching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this point? I don't really know how much is Tom Brady and how much is the coaching staff anymore. So a lot of things to consider there. And, I mean, it's starting to get to be gut check time, because, I mean, they're struggling against other bad teams now. It's not like they're winning games they they're losing to really good elite teams. They're losing. Packers haven't looked good. Steelers aren't good. I can't remember who they lost to besides that, but I mean, it's not been absolutely domination by them. They lost to the Chiefs, and they finally decided to wake up in that game. So, the first season Brady went down the Buccaneers. A lot of things did not go well. They made a wild card. They did not look very dominant, but they made it to the playoffs anyway, and obviously they won the Super Bowl that year. So, a lot of people are banging on that happening, but this is not the same team of, new quarterback figuring things out, signing Antonio Brown midseason, getting Gronk to play there. A lot of these guys are gone, and it seems like the problems are just compounding a lot quicker.
Absolutely, they are. We will keep tabs on the Bucks. I'm sure they're going forward to see if they can get back to it. And the Steelers, obviously, in the Bengals division, will have a lot of close-up looks about what they're doing in the future. The Rams beat the Panthers 24-10. Good team wins, bad team loses. This is the first game without Matt Rule. The notable story is Robbie Anderson was caught yelling at the coaching staff and then was told to go to the locker room. Much like Vernon Davis back in the day, he has now been traded to the Arizona Cardinals. We'll see if that pans out. That locker room seems like it doesn't need another issue, and they may have just gotten one. But there you go. I mean, the Rams win, Panthers lose, kind of what we expected.
Fun fact: can you tell me how many yards per attempt do you think PJ Walker got in this game on Sunday? How many yards per attempt on average?
Yards per attempt or completion?
Per completion.
Per completion? All right. I'm going to go with, oh boy, 5.
Apparently, I read a stat today, and maybe it was the attempt, but I saw .9. I don't even think that's
Wow.
humanly possible. But I guess that means all the throws that were behind the line or, got hit in the backfield and, were losses. But yeah, less than a yard.
Whew.
So, I mean, give it to Steve Wilkes. I guess he's trying something different. Let's just do something different every week. I read that in an article. They're like, let's just have fun. I mean, Steve Wilkes basically got told unless he has a phenomenal season, he's really not going to be considered for the next head coach. He's just, let's do some stuff fun this year. Let's just make Christian McCaffrey the only skill player on the field. Let's just get a bunch of tight ends and offensive linemen. And Christian McCaffrey just does whatever in the backfield. Let's just do that for a game. Just be creative because ultimately let's make something fun with the Panthers team that really isn't that good. However, what's even less fun is the Los Angeles Rams are just an absolute mess as well. I mean, they were barely scoring points. It looked like they were in a dogfight with the Carolina Panthers for most of the game. That shouldn't happen. I mean, Cooper Kupp seems to be their only playmaker. Cam Akers is not playing because he just doesn't want to play anymore for them. There's nothing wrong with them. It just there's a lot of stuff. Joseph Noteboom just went out for the season with a torn Achilles. That's another key offensive lineman that is down. Things are just getting worse and worse for the Rams, and I mean, defense needs to step up and be a lot better because they have not played well so far. And the offense, I mean, the offensive line is literally pieced together with, I think, tape and super glue at this point. And the offensive weapons are basically they're catering to a guy on vacation in OBJ with a torn ACL, just begging him to come back there when he's healthy. That seems to be their only game plan because you've got Cooper Kupp, Ben Skoranek is there, who's playing and doing a lot more stuff than anyone ever thought Ben Skoranek would ever get to do. Tyler Higbee is okay as a tight end. He's not really a good number 2 weapon on a team, and they don't really have a running back now. So offense is in a bad spot, and there's only so many ways you can try to creatively get Cooper Kupp the ball. And, I mean, teams are starting to key in on it. And Matt Stafford's just not having a very good season either. So it's turned into a mess pretty quick. And, I mean, again, NFC West does not look great. Anybody could really take it if they really went on a run. And I just don't think it's going to be the Rams in the current condition. You look at this team, it just – they won against the Panthers, but, I mean, they should have won, and it should have been a lot more convincing than it was for most of the game. So,
Yes, definitely should have been more convincing. Panthers will. I mean, we'll see. They played the Rams close for a decent amount, but just gave it up in the end. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks beating the Cardinals 19-9. Kenneth Walker had a really good day for the Seahawks. Looks pretty legit in that. Basically, it's his backfield to lose now with Rashad Penny getting hurt and Chris Carson retiring before the season. Defense steps up for the Seahawks. And Cecil, I mentioned this when we were watching the games together on Sunday. The Cardinals are just bad. Like, they're not a good football team right now. They just traded for Robbie Anderson, and that's cool. They're going to get DeAndre Hopkins back, but they lost Marquise Brown to injury. They're 2-4, and they look like a team that should be like 0-6 at this point.
Yeah, Kyler Murray just does not seem to be able to put together a good offense at all. Marquise Brown went down as well, so he's going to be out for a couple weeks. So that's why they need Robbie Anderson more than ever. So they just lost the one person who's kind of producing somewhat on their team. The running back situation is a bunch of second string guys, James Conner, Benjamin. None of these guys are really great running. I mean, they're not even good. They're not even average running backs. Each one of them is like a good backup. So you have about 2 or 3 good backups at running back, all of which can't stay healthy anyway. And AJ Green, as much as I love him, he is aged a lot and he's just not involved. Rondale Moore hasn't looked that great this season. And the defense, they do some things okay, but I mean, really, this game is about how the Seahawks, their defense really finally did something. They really limited Kyler Murray and that team. Sure, Kyler Murray got 100 yards, but it was more just because he wasn't throwing the ball pretty much at all. So they limited them. They didn't really do much. I mean, they scored 9 points. I think one of those was, on a blocked punt that got punted and recovered in the end zone for, 6 points. And then the Cardinals missed the extra point as well. So really the offense of the Cardinals mustered 3 points. That's pretty dismal. And it's not like the Seahawks defense has been world beaters this season at all. They've really been part of the team that's been lacking. So great game for Kenneth Walker, though. Geno Smith didn't have to do as much in this one. I mean, the Seahawks are trending in the right direction, and right now the Cardinals are getting in a precarious position for a team with a franchise quarterback they just committed a lot of money to. He's starting to look like a guy that, I'm not saying he's not the future. I'm not saying – but, I mean, this season's got to start turning around before those questions start getting asked. Because, I mean, you can only see so much of an offense just be completely misrun. And, I mean, I don't know how much longer we're going to put up with Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know what is going on in Arizona, what, the management, is seeing there. But, I mean, I'm seeing a really bad football team with people who, coaching. Cliff Kingsbury should have never been the coach in the first place. Still not sure why he's the coach. They've done next to nothing while he's been head coach. I mean, and then they committed a bunch of money to him in the offseason because he made the playoffs and got killed by the Rams. So, you're awarding mediocrity and it's showing. And in those cases, sure, maybe they get a little better at times. But if you give them a reward like that, they're just going to sit back and let it fall apart because, I mean, they're just going to take the money, it looks like. So, a lot of problems there. DeAndre Hopkins is going to solve anything. Maybe they win a couple more games. DeAndre Hopkins, they are 5-8 all time with, while he's been on the roster, or 5-8 without him. I think they're about 4 or 5 wins over 100 with 4 or 5 games over 500 with him. So do with those stats what you will. I mean, obviously he's a great talent, but still a lot of things that this Cardinal teams need to fix. DeAndre Hopkins can't play all the positions on the field or be the head coach.
Well, you could. We need to get back player coaches at this point. That'd be fun.
There we go.
All right, well, yeah, the Seahawks get the win. We're moving on to the Bills beating the Chiefs 24-20. See, this game was hyped up as like the game you couldn't miss, especially after that AFC playoff game last year. It didn't really deliver that way until the very end. Like it was somewhat of a slow-paced game for the first half. Not as much scoring as we thought. 44 total points. I bet tons of people lost money on this over/under. The ball went back and forth in the last couple minutes there. The Bills end up being able to get the win. And he also had a cool run where he jumped over a player and just kind of in the fourth quarter, that was really cool. And just found Dawson Knox, who hasn't really used as much this year, for a touchdown to get the win over the Chiefs. Chiefs were a home underdog for the first time in a long time. But these are two of the best teams in the AFC. It didn't play out quite as well as we were expecting.
Right. And I mean, this game was kind of the epitome of what defined this week. It was a lot of games that were just not that much going on for most of it. And then the end, finally, some action started to happen. But, offenses coming real slow out of the gate. Wasn't like the defenses were making great plays. It was just a lot of ineptitude, it looked like. Just a lot of, miscommunications, three and outs, just not being able to convert on simple plays. So, yeah, it did not start out right, but I mean, it finished in great fashion. I mean, Josh Allen's outdueled Patrick Mahomes. Um, the billion, it was just kind of ironic. You're sitting there for half this game just waiting for this so-called offensive juggernaut to happen. They're putting as many clips and pictures of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen together as they can find of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, and I'm just at a certain point, I understand they want to connect it as the next great quarterback rivalry, but it gets annoying that like it's just like they're Tom Brady and like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, when these two quarterbacks are nothing like either of them. Not in any way except that they're both good. They don't play in a similar way. I mean, their teams are built a lot differently, and I mean, it's not even the same franchises. So it just I get sick of it. Tom Brady's still in the league. It's just a lot of trying to set up a storyline, which sometimes drives me crazy in sporting events, where they try to create this narrative or storyline instead of just letting us watch the game. I mean, it's one thing if it's a storyline that makes sense, like these two teams have had a lot of back and forth with each other, but ultimately, they played each other in the divisional round. Obviously it was a very close game. The Bills left too much time on the clock, and that was kind of it. The Bills had beat them in the regular season. It wasn't like, it's been back and forth. The big difference in this game was, you're looking at it and you're thinking the Chiefs can make another big run. They left too much time on the clock, the Bills did. But Patrick Mahomes makes a bad decision and throws an interception to end the game. But other than that, I mean, Josh Allen looked good. Patrick Mahomes looked decent too. Nothing, again, they weren't crazy. Juju Smith-Schuster had two really big passes for Patrick Mahomes. And Josh Allen had that huge leaping run, which is really cool. Again, if I'm offensive, head coach, offensive coordinator, I think it's really cool, but I am like also terrified the entire time he's in the air. Again, this team, a lot of times this Bills team reminds me of the Cam Newton team, where they got a lot of good weapons, they got a lot of good players on defense as well, and they've got a quarterback who has a really good arm and can run for a lot of yards. But again, we saw Cam Newton. How long can this go on? And at the end of the day, you got to protect your quarterback a little bit here. Let's stop letting him run and try to hurdle people. At a certain point, you just got to go, just step out of bounds. Just please do not go airborne in a regular season game and just have a defensive lineman just wait to just literally attack you midair. That's just, I mean, there's one way to get injured is just being literally free falling in the air. Anything can happen. You have no control of how you land or what happens at that point if somebody runs into you. So, and it's a perfectly legal play if you leave your feet like that. So, just I'd be careful as the Bills long term. It's fun to see now. It's good to see them get the win, and it was good. Last fourth quarter was really good, but ultimately, you got to think about your franchise quarterback.
Yeah, you definitely do. We'll see how that holds up. They are possibly in the market for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, when you get some of these running backs, they spent a lot of draft capital over the last several years on running backs, whether it started with Devin Singletary, went to Zach Moss, now James Cook. Use them or sign a bigger guy who can handle the brunt of some of these carries too, is kind of my advice for them. They just haven't done it. And yes, it's cool to maybe in a playoff game, do or die situation, run Josh Allen a lot, but in some of these games where it's like regular season, they're off to a good start anyway. Maybe you hold back on running the ball so often with him until it's desperate.
Right.
So,
And I mean, ultimately, how much better is Christian McCaffrey going to make this team? Everyone goes, the run, oh, the running attack isn't that great. They don't really try to use their running attack. So it's, it'd be one thing if they try to commit to the run and it's just effectual. I mean, Devin Singletary has run decently well at times. So, I mean, you just put Christian McCaffrey in there, probably going to be a little better, but is that really going to be the secret key of this offense? Is it something they're really missing? It's not like a pass rusher is, where these guys rotate in, and that one extra weapon there is going to help. If you're a team that philosophically barely uses your running back, and obviously again Christian McCaffrey would be there, it'd be a little different. But I mean, they haven't shown that ability to do it so far. It's also going to create this kind of weird sense of we just pretty much sold our future for Christian McCaffrey and his big running back contract. There's going to be a lot more need to be, we got to get this guy involved. And I mean, that can throw off everything on what the offense they have going too. So if I'm the Bills, I stay away from that stuff because, one, it's a running back, not a super value position. Again, I know it's Christian McCaffrey, but it's not like a team that really is a run heavy team by any means, or someone I think is going to get incrementally better with Chris McCaffrey. Are they better? Sure. Are they better enough where that's going to be the decider between a Super Bowl or not? I don't really think so. And I think, again, it's going to hurt them a lot long term more than it is. It's not like the Von Miller trade last year for the Rams or the OBJ signing. This isn't, everyone thinks the Rams, it worked out. Everybody can do that. Those guys are in positions that they had needs at, they have weapons at, they need more players at those positions. Running back, they got a lot of young running backs. They spent a lot of capital on. They just straight up don't use them. So is that because they don't think they're good enough? Is that just a philosophy thing? I don't know. But ultimately, that's a big unknown factor to throw a lot of draft capital and also have to open your pocketbooks up a lot and use a lot of cap space for a guy that we just don't really know how much they would use it.
I'm with you in theory, but F them picks, go for it. Make all the trades you want to. Try to win a Super Bowl. So if you think he's going to be helpful and you think he can change the way you call plays, do it. Cecil, that's something you're doing in our Dynasty League right now for fantasy football. You're effing those picks and trying to win a championship. All right, let's go to the Sunday night game, Cease. We have the Eagles beating the Cowboys 26-17. It looked like it was going to be a blowout after the first half, but the Cowboys fight back. They run the ball very, very well in this game to kind of keep it close at the end. The defense steps up in the second half after they had troubles stopping Jalen Hurts, running the ball a lot of the time as well. Good one for the Eagles. I think 6 games in, you're 6-0. You have to feel really good about that and like your chances to win the NFC East. And for the Cowboys, you get Dak Prescott back this week. You're 4-2. You have a defense who's playing at elite level, and now you get a quarterback who is much better than Cooper Rush back in your lineup. That is going to mean wonders to them. And this NFC Beast is not somewhere where I would want to play in.
Right. I mean, the Eagles looked like they had pretty much over by halftime. I mean, they were dominating. They scored, 2 touchdowns, some field goals, and Cooper Rush threw, I think, 3 interceptions this game overall, 2 in the first half. You can't do that as a team, and Cooper Rush, I think that puts to bed, the Cooper Rush truthers out there. Dak Prescott is the better quarterback. This team will be better with Dak Prescott. And, the way the defense started playing in the second half, and, the way they just started getting a lot of, yards running the football, Dak Prescott was in this game, they might have a shot. Not saying they should have played him in this by any means, but, that's the level of talent he has versus Cooper Rush. So, at the same time, Eagles took care of business. They got off to a fast start. They did really well in the second quarter, like they seem to always do. Really struggled in the third quarter, couldn't get anything going on offense, and then, finally by the end, they did enough to win this game and keep the Cowboys at bay to go 6-0. Are they most convincing 6-0 team ever? Absolutely not, but they're getting wins. A lot of great, plays on defense. A lot of people are playing really well. Obviously, Lane Johnson getting hurt in this. I don't know the degree of that injury, but that could be important depending on how long-term that injury is. They have good reserves in Driscoll, but, Lane Johnson's been one of the best right tackles in the game for a lot of years now. So he could be missed if he misses a lot of time. And, let's see what happens with Philly going forward. But if you're the Cowboys, nothing to get mad about. You almost came back in a game in Philly, which is a very hostile place, especially if you're a Cowboy. And, I mean, they came out and were in a place to maybe win the game if they had made some key mistakes. So a lot of things, if you're the Cowboys, a lot of things to still unfold here in the NFC Beast.
Absolutely excited for this week's game, seeing what they can do when Dak gets back here and see if they can go on a little bit of a run and make this even more interesting. 6-0, 5-1, 4-2 at the top of that division. Lots of good things are going to happen. All right, Monday Night Football, Cease. We had the Chargers beating the Broncos 19-16. Broncos got out to a hot start, and wouldn't you know it, the offense kind of stalled after that. They took Melvin Gordon out of the game, kind of surprisingly. Mike Boone and Latavius Murray got a lot of the carries, but they still couldn't score points. The Chargers also failed to score points. They had 10 first half points, and then in the second half, they kicked all field goals to win 19-16. And Cecil, I teased it early in the show. There is one kicker who is a person and was able to do something that I think was pretty cool. Dustin Hopkins kicking on one leg. He's got a leg injury. I think it was a hamstring, and he's kicking field goals. He got the game-winning field goal in overtime, and the dude's legs falling off. They already mentioned he's out for at least this week after doing it, and they relied on him the whole way to get this win. So I will elevate Dustin Hopkins from kicker to absolute human being at this point.
All right. One kicker has converted to human. He is a real boy. Good for him. That is gutsy no matter what. I couldn't kick with one. I'm assuming it was his non-kicking leg with the hamstring injury, but I don't even know I guess you then hop after you kick the ball. Like, I feel like I would just fall down if I kicked with one. I got to see the mechanics of this. So I will look back on that and report back next podcast. But, it was a snooze fest of a game, though. Let's be honest. Chargers offense did not look good. I think the Broncos defense is still very good. They've played very well throughout the season, but the Chargers offense is not wowing us in the way it's supposed to, and their defense is not done what they're supposed to with all the signings. Like, it looked like the Chargers fixed every problem on their roster. Justin Herbert's great, unstoppable, all that stuff, and they've done next to nothing. Sure, Keenan Allen's been hurt, but they're barely getting Mike Williams involved at times. Justin Herbert's spreading the ball out. They're just not getting a lot of yards from it. So no touchdowns from him, just a field goal game. And I think it took 5 possessions in overtime to win it. So that's a nasty Monday night game, and both these teams need to get a lot better. Chargers still have a lot of potential to go far in this year if they can put it together. Broncos, we're done with. I know there's like a billion more primetime games. I'm going to have to watch them, but it's time to sell, time to put them in the trash can, take them out to the dump. It's over. If you have any plan or faith in the Broncos, their defense is good, but their offense I think Nathaniel Hackett could seriously find another offensive coordinator. The guy should not be allowed to touch the playbook at this point, or I don't know. For all the talk of getting offensive-minded coaches, I've never seen an offensive-minded coach like this come in to a situation like this with a lot of weapons, a quarterback who's supposed to be good, and just be the most ineffectual offense I've seen in a long time. So it looks like they should have Joey Harrington out there, for God's sake. So a lot of problems, a lot of things that they need to fix. And how long do you give Nathaniel Hackett to put it together before you just go, this guy wasn't the answer, and we've made a huge mistake. We still got a lot of talent on this roster. We need to move on quick and find someone who knows what the hell they're doing.
I'm going to blame Russell Wilson more than Nathaniel Hackett, and that's saying a lot because Nathaniel Hackett has done absolute nothing to help the team. But both are in fault. Both are at fault. Cease, to clear up, it was his right leg that had the hamstring pull cramp strain. They didn't really, well, I guess it wasn't a cramp, but they didn't really elaborate on what it was. I guess that's better for you as a kicker because it's not your plant leg. I guess more of the power and torque comes from your plant leg. But still, Dustin Hopkins, player of the game, and kicker I can have a beer with. A lot of kickers you wouldn't want to have a beer with. Dustin Hopkins I can do that with.
Do they even drink beer?
And I don't know about that. That's a good
Maybe
question.
like a wine or
I've never met a kicker.
some...
I've never met a kicker in real life. I think it's like one of those. They're like a leprechaun.
A lot of them are short.
All right, that's our Week 6 recap. Let's get to our Week 7 picks, Cease. We're going to start it off on Thursday night. New Orleans Saints play at the Arizona Cardinals. It is an Amazon Prime game that should be a little bit better than what we've seen in the past. We'll see if that actually plays out that way. We have the Saints going for the Bird Gauntlet. They play every Bird team this season. That's going to be fun. So they have a chance to go for that. We also got Kyler Murray with the new Call of Duty game coming out, and I think he can get it early, so he probably is playing that. The Cardinals are favored by 1.5 points, but so many fun and interesting storylines outside of the actual football field.
It's in Arizona, correct?
It is in Arizona, yes.
Give me the Saints. I think they've been playing better with next to no talent than Cardinals seem to do with their entire roster. So I'm going to pick the Saints to win, and it's such a low spread. I mean, obviously the Saints. So I think the Saints are going to win this game. I think they're a better, more competitive, disciplined team. So give me them. If they can play well against the Bengals and, be creative and do a lot of things, I don't think the Cardinals will know what the hell's going on by before halftime.
I'm with you. Kyler Murray is not good this year. Trading for Robbie Anderson just adds to this locker room. I mentioned earlier, I don't know if it's a good thing to add a receiver that I think the Panthers would have cut. Honestly, I think they would have cut him in about a day. They gave a 6th-round pick for him. Don't know if that's going to help. The defense isn't the greatest. Saints, as you said, they're getting more out of less, and I think they pull off the upset. I think 1.5-point spread isn't much of an upset, but I think they pull off the upset here.
Do you think Cliff Kingsbury lets the players party at his really nice house?
No, that's a problem. They're jealous.
Do you think he just sits there by himself in that house?
Like a fortress of solitude
Like
type
he
thing?
did during COVID. Like everyone's like, oh, COVID, no one can be around him. I think that's just what he does. He just sits there on his laptop in his gigantic living room and just tries to figure out a way to continue to convince us all I think the GM thinks he's too cool to fire. Like you can't fire him, he's cool.
Yeah.
Like, he wears Oakley sunglasses on the sidelines. Like if we fire this guy, I'm just a loser. Like if he goes, I'm going to let you go. He goes, well, I mean, you're a loser anyway. And I don't think he can take that rejection.
Wow. I mean, he is failing upward. You're a Texas Tech and you can't go to a bowl game with Patrick Mahomes. You got some problems. I think that might be true. Maybe he's got like his own fortress of solitude there. He doesn't let anyone in or out. He just goes and sits there in his nice house and just stares at a wall when he's not coaching football games. I don't know. All right, next game up, we have the Sunday afternoon game. We have Green Bay Packers at the Washington Commanders. The Packers are favored by 5.5 on the road.
Give me the Packers to win and cover. Carson Wentz is out, so it's Taylor Heineke again, who I don't know if that's really much of a downgrade. The Packers should play better. The Commanders suck, so yeah, that's really my reasoning. I mean, the Packers seem to play worse and worse all the time too, but love of God, like, please put something together at this point. I mean, the Packers being bad is just bad for the NFL brand, especially like ineffectually bad. It's not like the quarterback's hurt and they're a ragtag team. We've got a Hall of Fame quarterback that doesn't seem to know how to throw for more than 275 yards now. Like, let's get a 300-yard game for Aaron Rodgers. Let's see some points and let's see something going, because otherwise it's just embarrassing at this point. So let's get the Packers to win and cover.
I am with you on that. I think this is the game where they get back to it. I really do. They don't have a standout receiver on that room, but they have some average guys. They have Alan Lazard as a good number 2. They have Dobbs, who's developing. They have Watson, who can develop. Randall Cobb, when he comes back, is still a solid guy. Like, they just don't have the go-to guys like they've had in the past, and they need to figure that out. But they still have guys to win this game. Washington's defense is the perfect defense to get going against. They've struggled the last couple of years. Packers win and cover. All right, New York Giants at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars favored by 3.
Give me New York. It's New York Giants at the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Jaguars are getting 3 points.
Yes.
Yeah, give me the Giants to win. Absolutely. I mean, they're a well-coached team at this point. I get they're going to Jacksonville, but that's not really a home field advantage by any means. It's late, it's mid to late October in Florida. It's not going to be ungodly hot. So, I mean, give me them. I mean, they're a much better coach team. I get Trevor Lawrence is there, but I got to go with the rolling head coach who's just doing an absolutely great job.
Yeah, Brian Daboll is the reason I'm going with the Giants. He's finding out a way to use the talent he has, whether that's wide receivers who are out or in, doesn't matter. He's doing a really good job there. Like I said earlier, they killed the draft. They are still playing very well. Jaguars are fading and maybe showing us that they are better than last year, but by how much is really in question. So Giants to win. Going to pull off that upset. All right, the Atlanta Falcons at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals favored by 6.
6. Okay. I'm going to go Bengals to win. I'm going to take the Falcons with the points. Falcons are a really good rushing team. I think they've surprised some people. And I think that, the Bengals are putting it together in a lot of ways, but they've had a lot of key injuries now. DJ Rader's their huge run stopper. Logan Wilson's now going to be out. He's an integral part of stopping the run as well. You start getting injuries right in the middle of your defense like that and going against a rushing team. I think they're going to try to control the clock a little bit more. I think the Bengals are still going to play by a lot, and I mean this game could be decided by a touchdown in the end, but I don't think it's going to be extremely like it's going to be like neck and neck the whole time. But I just think it's not going to be a super crazy high scoring game. And I think there's a lot of confidence going towards the Bengals right now after that Saints game, which is great. But at the end of the day, I mean, they barely beat the Saints. Obviously, it was on the road, but it was a team playing with a lot of backups, and they were giving up a lot of plays. So I'm going to pick the Bengals to win, but I don't think the Falcons are huge slouches, and I don't think it's going to be like neck and neck, but 6 points is a lot for a spread in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals to win and cover. Like the Falcons are playing out of their minds right now. I don't know how long that can last in the season. We know teams who do that and they're typically in rebuild mode still can't keep that up for a full season. They know the key is to stop the run. I think it's important the Bengals get started early on this Falcons defense, who they are much better at. They're much better than. So I think the Bengals get up early. They go ahead and they take this game by storm. They win by more than 6.
I hope so.
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, the Colts at the Titans. This is AFC South battling for the top spot over here. We have the Titans favored by 2.5 points.
Give me the Titans. They've been playing really well. I think they're well rested from a bye week as well. Again, the Colts, they're probably going to get Jonathan Taylor back. And again, I think they need to figure out an identity. So I'm going with Tennessee to win and cover here.
I'm going with them as well. They've looked much better than the Colts have this season. As someone who has Derrick Henry in fantasy, I do want them, and this is even just for real football here. When you get the lead, let the dude that you pay all this money to carry the load kill the clock. Let him go score for you. Let him move the chains. Don't do this Ryan Tannehill thing again. Ryan Tannehill is a game manager plus. He's played better than just a game manager, but it's not by that much. He's not a guy who's going to go win games. Let Derrick Henry ride you to a win.
He's great at handing off a ball. I mean, he can hand off a ball with the best of them.
And you know what? He can pull it out on a read option sometimes, and he can keep defenses on their toes. But let's not make him into something he's not. All right, Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 7 points. Dak Prescott is projected to return. I mean, we could always hear about a setback. It is a thumb injury. He does have, I think, a plate in his thumb, but he's projected to be back for the Cowboys.
Yeah, either way, give me the Cowboys to win and cover here. I mean, Lions defense is non-existent at times. Their offense can be good, but this is a hell of a test of a Cowboys defense that is absolutely dominant. And I mean, this Lions team's reeling at this point. So give me the Cowboys to win and cover.
Same thing here. Yeah, I think Dak being back is going to be huge for this team. They haven't really had a defense this good in quite some time. So if you add that defense that's been playing at an elite level this year to an offense that was the highest scoring offense last year, even without, Amari Cooper's out now in Cleveland and Tyron Smith is out right now, I think they have enough pieces to be a very good team. I think they win and cover against the Lions. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers. Buccaneers favored by 10.5 on the road.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Give me the Buccaneers to win. I mean, this is a game. I wouldn't bet this spread at all. I would stay the hell away from it, to be honest. Because two things, Panthers are terrible, but I mean, maybe they're going to be scrappy again. They're fighting for their jobs, a lot of guys. Two, the Buccaneers, I don't know what team's going to come out for either one. Ultimately, I'm going to pick the Bucs to cover it just because they do have a lot more talent, and maybe this is the game they get right in. But, I mean, I could see the Buccaneers are going to win it, but I could see it just be another stumbling of just not a really clean and, efficient game for them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Buccaneers to win and cover, but that's mostly because that's what they should do, right? Like, they haven't shown it, but they should do this. There's an interim coach. They just traded away a wide receiver. There's locker room problems. It's a mess. P.J. Walker is starting at quarterback. I think I'm taking Buccaneers to win and cover. I'm not too confident in that, but it's what should happen. Cleveland Browns at Baltimore Ravens. Ravens favored by 6.5.
Give me the Ravens to win and cover in this one. I think the Ravens are going to fire on all cylinders. They seem to always really beat up on the Browns, so I think that continues in this. The Browns are they're just not playing really good football right now. I think the Ravens are really going to limit their rushing attack, and once that happens, they're really not going to be able to do much on offense. Jacoby Brissett will fail. So, and again, the Browns' defense is not right now, and I think the rushing attack is just too much for them of the Ravens. So, give me the Ravens to win and cover.
Yeah, I think the last couple of weeks have been a lesson. They're going to keep their foot on the gas this week. I have the Ravens winning and covering. They're going to want to finish strong. Everyone's been talking about Lamar Jackson's fourth quarter numbers. They're back. I think they're going to focus this week. They're going to get it done. They're going to win and cover. All right, the Sunday evening games. We have the Houston Texans at the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders favored by 7.
Um, Give me the Raiders to win, but I'm gonna pick Texans with the points. They play too close. They're scrappy. They play scrappy. Raiders cannot put anything together. So
Yeah, I'm going Raiders to win and cover. And again, this is one that where it should happen. This should be the game where the Raiders get back on track and win and cover, have a good offensive performance. The defense kind of holds up as they're not a great unit, but they can hold up. The Texans coming off a bye is my biggest kind of concern here. They're a little bit fresher. Dameon Pierce is already running hard this year. Can he do it again on fresh legs? I think he can, but I think the Raiders still cover. New York Jets at the Denver Broncos. Broncos favored by 3.
Jets to win this one. Upset, I guess. Jets are playing better football. They seem to be able to do what the Broncos are supposed to. Like they have a good running game. They have a defense that's playing really well. The Broncos are supposed to. I mean, the Broncos should be doing a lot of what the Jets have been doing successfully, but their quarterback can't get out of their way. Zach Wilson isn't great, but he's not costing them games so far. So I can't, in good faith, trust the Broncos. This is going to be another game where maybe the Jets go back to the Jets team we think they should be, but I mean, at this point, I don't really have confidence in the Broncos offense at all. And I think the Jets offense is firing enough cylinders to be able to streak out a couple points from a stout Broncos defense. And they're playing in MetLife versus in Denver. So Jets all the way here.
Jets are gonna win this one. It's on the road. They're gonna go on the road and win. I'm really impressed with that defense. Like I said, I'm very unimpressed with the Broncos offense, and I don't know. I think the Jets are a team that are starting to believe in themselves, and it's kind of interesting to see. Maybe they'll fall flat on their face later in the season when the AFC East kind of comes down, but it's really encouraging to see. And on the other flip side, like it is kind of painful to watch the Broncos right now. Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers favored by 6.5 points.
Give me the Chargers to win and cover. I think they need to get right in this game. I think they will. I think there's a lot of problems still with Seattle's defense. I think they played well last week, but again, it was against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. I think they're going to have to get better. Hopefully, Keenan Allen is finally back this week. Hopefully, that gives a little shock to the offense as well. But I just think their offense is too dynamic, and I think they have enough players on defense that are going to limit Geno Smith and Kenneth Walker a little bit more. So it's in Los Angeles, so I'm going to give them, the benefit of the doubt and say they cover and win.
I'm going Chargers to win, but I'm going Seahawks with the points here. I think this is a very close game. The reason why I think it's closer than maybe it should be is just the Chargers are still really banged up with these injuries. It's seemingly really affecting how they're playing. They didn't score much against the Broncos. Broncos have a good defense, but with just the game script of the game, they should have been able to score way more points. And I do think Geno Smith is having a great season. He should win Comeback Player of the Year. I don't want to hear anyone's argument about, oh, he's coming off the bench. What did he come back from? It's not like an injury or retirement. No, screw you. Geno Smith is a Comeback Player of the Year. He's been on the bench for like 7 years. Chill out. And,
he came back from being bad.
Exactly. He came back from being bad. That still counts. All right. Kansas City at San Francisco in this one. Chiefs are favored by 3 on the road.
Give me the Chiefs to win and cover. That's a really low spread for this game. If it was higher, I think the Chiefs will probably win by 6 points probably. I mean, it's really going to come – I don't think the Chiefs offense is going to struggle a ton from the 49ers defense. I think they're banged up a little bit. The 49ers are. I think the Chiefs are going to want to come out firing after losing to the Bills. And again, like the offense of the 49ers, it's just, it's very basic. It's establish a power run game, have Debo Samuels do some things, and have Jimmy G run, pass the ball as little as possible. And I just don't think it's a formula for success, especially the way Jimmy G is playing right now with those limited passes. So I think the Chiefs can get up quick, and if they do, this game is going to get bad pretty quickly. But I have all confidence in the world the Kansas City Chiefs will win this game and cover.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing here. They're a much more talented team right now than the 49ers. Will that change? Maybe. But right now, they're a much better team. They're going to want to kind of bounce back after their loss to the Bills. They have some things to clean up, but the 49ers won't offer half as much resistance as the Bills. I think the Chiefs go on the road and cover. Sunday Night Football, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 7, and we have Tua is projected to return. Again, we'll keep everyone notified if there's any updates on that, but it's right now projected to return. Kenny Pickett is projected to miss this game as of now, but he's still going through all the protocols.
Give me as long as Tua plays, Dolphins win and cover 100%. If he doesn't, give me Dolphins to win, but they're not going to cover that. Absolutely not. I mean, it will be a pretty close game without Tua, to be honest. So if he's playing, though, I think it's going to be a pretty game in hand from the start. So Tua to win and cover.
All right, I'm going Dolphins to win and cover, and I will take that even if Teddy Bridgewater's in. He looks good, 329 yards last week. Steelers, I think, gave it all out. They had all-out effort against the Buccaneers, but I do think with the way the Dolphins were rolling earlier, I mean, if they get Tua back, they can definitely cover the spread. Monday Night Football, another barn burner, Cecil. We have the Chicago Bears at the New England Patriots. Patriots favored by 8.
Yeah, Patriots by 1 million.
Oh.
Bears absolutely suck. So Patriots to win and cover all the way.
Patriots to win and cover for me too. Bailey Zappi projected to keep his starting spot here for the time being. We'll see if there's any controversy this week. But Bailey Zappi doing well. They can score points. I think you let him air it out a little bit in this game. And, the Bears, they keep on getting close, but they're just not a good team. And that's because they haven't set themselves up well. That's a GM problem. Not necessarily a head coach or quarterback problem, even if people kind of refuse to see it that way.
I mean, I think the Patriots defense is going to just completely and utterly engulf them in this game. I think the running game is going to be non-existent, and, the way the Patriots have treated struggling young quarterbacks in the past, I have a feeling that's what's going to happen to Justin Fields in this one. They're not going to let him run around and use his feet. They're going to make him stay in the pocket, and he is going to have to make some decisions, and I think there are a lot of mistakes are going to be made. So, if you can, Patriots defense, guys, if you're in fantasy right now, somehow someone doesn't have the Patriots defense rostered, pick them on up.
Yeah, going to be a good game for them, and you can kind of get a backdoor win maybe on Monday night with the defense. That'd be fun. All right, Cease, that was the last pick of the night. Any final thoughts before we log off here?
No, just another fun week of football. And I really hope – it's really cold in Cincinnati right now, folks, so I really hope it starts heating up.
I don't know if you're going to get your wish, but hey, cold football is good football. We're happy to see that.
It's 70 degrees on Sunday, man. The great weather for a Bengals-Falcons game.
Oh, absolutely. All right, I don't have anything else. I'm going to remind everyone to like our videos, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you like those as well. We'll be here all season long doing this. Next week, we will recap this week's action, preview next week's action, and just have a good football season. And everyone, thanks for listening. We'll see everyone next week.
See you guys.